Kagnew Station has, over the years, meant many things to many people. But to one veteran who worked at Track C, it became the perfect setting for a suspenseful murder mystery. That vet is Paul Betit, a current-day newspaperman in Maine who served in the late 1960s. Betit didn't write for the Post newspaper, the Kagnew Gazelle, and he wasn't a writer during his Kagnew years. But following his military stint, the experiences at Kagnew and in Eritrea stuck with him.
For my first year, I worked on one particular problem. That's what we called, what we did with problems. And then for the second year I was there, I was a trick chief and was charged with overseeing the collection of and dissemination of material. And some of it had to be electronically forwarded to the NSA immediately. It was a classified job, types of stuff that we were working with, even the skills. So, I feel I'm still kind of bound by that, by those rules.
Your book starts out with a murder scene, actually, just outside of Track C.
Right.
And that's where you worked, at Track C. So there must be a connection.
Well, there's snippets of a song while someone is shooting somebody, and it's just that I wanted to bring this otherworldly sense of here's this hyper-sensitive secret base, out in the middle of nowhere, where they play pop music all day long, blaring from loudspeakers, and it's got a fence around it, it's got MPs all over the place, it's got dogs, and yet not very far away someone can kill somebody and apparently get away with it. I just thought that was the juxtaposition of all that was interesting. So
your story revolves around a detective whose name is Murphy.
Right.
John Murphy. And did you know anybody at Kagnew named John Murphy, or
No.
is he modeled after anybody that you knew?
No. I can't say I took the name out of a hat. I just came up with a name, and then I developed a persona, and I did some, took a couple trips down to Cape Cod, where he comes from, did some, research as to, where he would have went to school, where he would have worked, what his mother would do for work. You basically created a persona for him, and then tried to plug it in as he evolved.
Paul, is there any truth to any of this?
The plots and the characters are totally fabricated. I think the truth lies in the atmosphere and the details of Kagnew. I tried to, weave in as much real stuff as I could in terms of what was going on in the background, what was going on when Murphy was conducting his investigation.
You referenced many places in Eritrea.
Right.
So it sounds to me like you got around quite a bit to Massawa, to Karen, certainly through Asmara, and other places. I take it you did?
I did. I wish I had gotten around more. but yes, I did. And that's funny, Massawa, I don't think I went down, came off the hill, which is like, that's what we said, right? You go off the hill to go down to Massawa. I think I was a year there before I went down to Massawa, and I think possibly before I went down to Karen.
So one of those beach parties that you describe, that must have been an actual event.
That was an amalgam of a couple of beach parties. But it was, that was the one in particular that went on for days. Our trick would have, I think the shift from mids to days could be a 3-day break, and I think we spent one break, 50, 60, 70 guys together down in Massawa, out at the beach at Gergesheim, and there was one that stuck in my mind, even though I wasn't a passive observer. I I was definitely involved in the partying.
I see. One of the things that surprised me in the book, and that I'd never heard of in my time in Asmara, was the snake pit, or pits, plural.
Right.
And those are real?
They were real when I was there. I was on a trip to Karen with a couple, 2 or 3 other motorcycle buddies, and they had been down there before. And they said, "Hey, I want to show you. You got to see this." And they didn't tell me what it was till I got there. And we got there, and there was no adults around. It was just like street kids. Although this was out in the rural area, but these kids just materialized. And if you gave them a buck, well, no, not a buck, but a dollar of their money, which is what, about 30 cents maybe. They pulled the grating back, took a big long stick, and hauled up these great big fat snakes, huge snakes, and it was black mambas, and they were being raised and for their hides. So they're going to turn into shoes and belts and purses, I guess. And when I was writing the book, I thought, well, that would be cool to work that in, because that makes it real. It was there, and so I actually have a pretty good, interesting chapter about an event that takes place there, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. You know what it is, but why spoil it for somebody who hasn't read about it yet?
To have a book named Kagnew Station that you wrote, it strikes me that Kagnew had a lot of meaning for you and has a lot of influence. When you look back and you think of what the place it occupied in your life and the future influence it had on what you were about to do, how would you characterize that?
I think it was a broadening experience for me. My experience in Vietnam was a very intense one. I mean, I wasn't in combat, a grunt or anything like that. But we worked 12-hour days. There was frequently we'd work 12-hour days on end, and we were also, the base I was on, it was a fixed position, and we were basically locked up the entire time we were in country. So I didn't do much interaction with the Vietnamese people, nor their culture. So going to Ethiopia or Eritrea, it was very diverse. I think the base, the makeup of the base, because there was another unit there, Stratcom. There was a Navy unit there. It was a very more diverse group of guys, for one thing. It wasn't just ASA types. We had the run of the town, and I think for its size, it's a very cosmopolitan town. It was quite a makeup of people there. Muslims, Orthodox Christians, Catholics, Italians. I mean, it was so just being able to interact with all sorts of different people. I thought, in the end, for me, it was very broadening, and it was a good life experience, and it provided me with fodder for something I didn't even know that I was going to do. So I didn't go there with the idea that I'm going to get a book out of this. That came much later.
How would someone get a copy of Kagnew Station?
They can go online. They could visit. I have a tiny website called paulbetit.com. And you can go to that website, and it's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, both soft cover, and it's also available as an ebook.
Betit has written several other books. One book is about Vietnam, and another soon-to-be-published book follows Detective John Murphy as he investigates a murder in Sweden, where some Army deserters formed a community. This is Daniel Minchin, formerly Spec 5 Dan Minchin, a TV newscaster and radio host at AFRS and AFTV in Asmara, 1969 to 1971.